areas, and it's less concentrated.
So there'd be more of those jobs, but just it's less per job. Is that
It's more so sort of more jobs, less jobs concentrated in a certain area, right? So if you're kind of with the oil and gas, if you have this certain this one area where there's a ton of work, and that changes, and it's like, oh, renewables, but you got to travel, or it's much wider. Well, there's jobs for other people that previously didn't really have access to the oil and gas opportunity because now they're in southeastern, Alberta, for example.
more diffuse now?
Yeah, yeah. So sometimes that's harder to see, the huge amount of capital or huge amount of jobs because it's so spread out.
Because I think that's the main opposition in Alberta right now, is that you can't make as much money on those projects, but there's more projects.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe that's the argument we should start making.
It is hard to do the same with less, or have to like take a step down your annual outlay, your lifestyle, whatever it is. But that's unfortunately just the reality of it.
Like you said, it takes less operational cost, which means that there's less people involved on a long-term basis, but it's still
That's
more
right.
efficient. So it's that double-edged.
The biggest reason we're doing this is it doesn't pollute our world, and that is like this massive reason, yet it's completely abstract still for a lot of people. So until that gets internalized, like, oh, that really matters, then everyone's gonna be looking at the paycheck and being like, oh, this is not enough. You have to sort of bake those externalities in. Yeah.
Earlier on, you talked about once the project is finished, the amount of work, to turn the wheels and everything, it's minimal,
Yeah.
1 or 2 people per field. What do you do though for the icing of the blades when you end up with a lot of crystal?
Right. Yeah,
So
no, that's valid. That's actually something that's ongoing research, and people are trying different types of like, for example, heat trace is one solution. But blade icing is an issue, and there's a lot of investment going on in Quebec as well as Northern Europe in terms of what's the most effective way of controlling ice on blades. Sometimes you just shut it down and wait for it to melt off.
Is anyone using the glycol anymore?
Yeah.
They are still?
Yeah, I
Good.
believe so.
I thought that was tried and given up on.
Yeah, no, people, I mean, they'll do what they can, But, does that sort of answer your question? Around
Yes, it does.
Blade icing? Yeah. It is an issue here, for sure, in Alberta. And on the jobs, to give you an idea on operations and maintenance jobs, so the 300 megawatt Black Springs project, which is between here and Lethbridge and Vulcan, has a crew of about 10 to 12 people. So you can kind of quantify your maintenance crew by about 3 to 4 people per 100 megawatts of facility.
And what would their annual salary be?
Depending on experience, but between 40 and 80,000 a year. And if you move up further and you become sort of like a regional service manager, it's up north of 110,000. So it's not oil and gas, but I mean those are inflated wages in a way too.
Yeah,
So what's real? What's realistic in terms of what you should be paid? I mean, that kind of begs the question sometimes. Okay, so for the job seekers in the room, if you can't quite read this, it's going to be on their website afterwards. But here's what we see for 2020. Whitlaw, completed. Riverview, under construction right now. If you need a job today, they're probably hiring because they are behind schedule too. Sterling wants to start in the spring. That's right south of Lethbridge. Windrise starting in the spring. Buffalo Atlee, which is out near Jenner, smaller project. And then Saskatchewan is happening right away here as well. Borea Construction is the company that does the most projects in Canada, wind and solar, and they have a lot of pull in that whole the hiring part of it. And then 2021, there's a comparable number of projects happening as well. 40 Mile Wind at 400 megawatts by Suncor is going to be the biggest one in Western Canada by a pretty healthy margin. So that's exciting to see that come up. And one thing you'll notice when you look at these is you'll start to see more and more of these projects going further east than the whole Pincher Creek plateau or the pass. The wind is more just diffuse and distributed. It's not as extreme, but it's more steady. And so you're getting a lot better distribution in the wind resource now in Alberta. And the Pincher Creekians, like, they're feeling trapped with all these turbines and transmission lines, yet it brings money into the county, a significant amount. Yeah.
Just a quick thought that I've been having for a long time.
Quick thoughts.
Is
Go.
there any thought of offshore wind for Canada, shoreline that we have? Is there any thought of that?
You know, bless their hearts, Nikoon is still pushing ahead with his giant offshore wind project for Haida that they just won't give up on despite CDAM and BC Hydro. They figure long term it'll get built, so they'll just stick with it. And they actually attracted a major Danish investor, Copenhagen Infrastructure Partners, to jump in on it. So I'm thinking they're gonna get it done eventually.
You've heard of the Halloween X for sure.
Yeah.
GE.
Right.
That's specifically designed for offshore because, as you say, much greater magnitude and sustainability.
Yeah, big 12 megawatt turbines.
And I think something Canada just doesn't even seem to
No, not really. We don't really
That's
see
a
it.
lot of where the money is.
Offshore now is in the eastern U.S. seaboard. It's incredible what's going on there right now. There's a ton of bigger projects being stamped, and a lot of these New Jersey and Virginia governors are very pro offshore wind. And Boston actually is surging suddenly with new activity in terms of jobs and supply chain logistics and stuff like that. So, as a segue, if you're interested in offshore, move to Boston. Okay?
Didn't they resist it really strongly there for the last 10 years or so?
Yeah, and that's melted away. It's the benefits outweigh the costs. So we're gonna switch gears to solar. Big solar in Alberta. Any more questions about wind before we do? We'll come back to it after too. So I got another little video for you, and to take you up close on the construction side for utility scale solar. Right now you have Brooks, 17 megawatts in Brooks, and about 40 megawatts in the Vauxhall area, and a bunch more coming on right away here. This is in the UK, I believe.
Well, they could do faster.
Just like Lego characters. So this is unusual, building with wood stringers.
What the?
Hardly ever see that.
Well, that captured carbon. Okay. Yeah, it's okay. I like that public.
Some insight there into a number of the different construction roles on site. That was built by Bill Electric, the same folks building the project out in Vauxhall right now, actually. It's a nice little brochure there. So in terms of the employment opportunity profile or contract opportunities, it's very similar to wind, with some notable exceptions. cranes really are much smaller, really just for offloading. Concrete is less of a thing, but you know, there's the same process involved in terms of starting a project and developing it, and assessing what type of you know, what kind of solar resources there are. There any endangered species or native prairies or things like that to consider? So both are very similar. So that's why some of these companies are wind, solar developers. They do both. And the real good projects will have wind and solar and battery storage all properly packaged together, and that's really where the puck is going right now.
And you put lawyers in there for the PPAs.
Oh, the lawyers, I forgot. Thank you for that. Yeah,
They're probably the big winners.
there's lawyers involved for sure around power purchase agreements and other things as well.
Is storage usually on close to site, or
Yeah.
is it off site?
On site basically. Yeah. Community, you know, community engagement people. That's, you know, part of the charm offensive piece. That's also an opportunity. Yeah, electricians, lots of electricians, and lots of skilled labor. So there's lots of entry level opportunities for people that have a little bit of construction experience. Maybe they're only 18, 19, 20 years old. You know, maybe your kids want to like get out there and do something with this because it's happening right now, and you know, it's going to be about, I don't know, 60 to 70% of what you would have gotten 10 years ago working in the oil patch. So these days, it's still a lot better than zero. Yeah. And living at home because you don't have any money. Alberta and Saskatchewan solar project timeline. So these are the ones Bell Electric's doing near Vauxhall. Basically done. This one is coming on right away here, and they have about 2/3 of that electricity sold to TransCanada Pipeline. Did a power purchase agreement with them for that. So that's enough to build the whole thing out and find a customer for the rest of it. The way that works, just quickly, I mean, virtual power purchase agreements, are you familiar with it? It's basically someone can do a deal for the electricity, and even though they are in a different province sometimes, or a different area of the province, and those electrons aren't going directly to their facilities, they're just receiving energy from the grid at a price that is agreed upon in this power purchase agreement. So they're effectively buying the rights to that electricity, but the electricity, of course, is just electrons in the pool, right? They come from everywhere. It's like two faucets going into a bathtub. Once they're in the bathtub, that water's all mixed. Question?
Just wondering about that. Has there been a lot of uptake in Canada of that approach? I've heard that it's growing in the U.S.
It's huge in the U.S.
Yeah.
It's explosive. I mean, all the big tech companies have really driven it. The Googles, Facebooks, etc. So we don't have a lot of that in Canada. And GM and places, people like that, we have some of that in Canada, but they've really focused their PPAs as well in the States, and it's just been more competitive, I think, there, because the overall cost of electricity is higher, so it's made sense for them to do that. It's starting to come to Alberta.
Is it possible to sell across the border with that kind of
It
agreement,
is, but it's
or
harder,
pretty hard?
and there's
Okay.
there's so many projects to choose from down there. Yeah, Ted?
Do you think that, how much do you think the power price will increase from the 3 to 6 kilowatt hours, 3 to 6 cents per kilowatt hour now? How much do you see it increasing? And in increasing, is that going to bolster renewable energies?
Yeah, well, it's been increasing over the last 4 years or 5 years or so. Interesting little website, medicineline.net, which is a little junior developer here in Calgary, but they publish and keep track of the pool price of power right on their homepage of their website, and it's been just steadily notching up. And the latest number they put on there, the prediction for 2020 is the average pool price will be $129 a megawatt hour, up from 60.
So I have an explanation for why that is.
Okay.
That's kind of my role, my business. The reason power prices were so low, around 20 cents, 30 cents a kilowatt hour, is because of the new Shepherd facility that came online down south in Calgary. Exactly. So Alberta goes into a recession, we're using less power, there's less of a demand, and then 800 megawatts get added to the grid all at the same time. It was a perfect storm. Before that, power prices were around 80 cents to like $1.20 kind of thing.
Okay.
And we're probably, I think the cost of generation in Alberta for gas-fired generation anyway is around 50 to 55 cents a kilowatt hour. So they're not really making money right now at the price that they're selling power at, around 60 cents a kilowatt hour. So it is heading up for sure. Plus two, we do have like a tight reserve margin. We just all got an alert this week about how we were nearing our reserve margins. There was like a stage 3 alert or whatever it was. So yeah, that's.
So you know what the spot price went up to?
Well, our spot price cap is at $999
I know.
a megawatt hour.
Yeah.
So yeah,
That's just a numerical limit.
that is the numerical limit exactly, and it
Doesn't go
is.
negative here either, yeah.
Pardon me?
Doesn't go negative here, whereas it does in the US.
It would have been interesting to watch it this week with the minus 40
Well, so right
temperatures.
now, like the average price for this month will end up around $1.50. I think that's what we're projecting based on.
$1.50 per.
So that's 15 cents. 15 cents a kilowatt hour and $150 a megawatt hour. Is that?
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly.
Okay.
So 15 cents. Sorry, yes.
Where do I sign for that? $1.50 per kilowatt
You
hour.
want to generate some power?
Yeah.
I
You
should
want a
say
micro
15
generator?
cents.
No, she means 15 cents.
That's the negotiated price.
Yeah, Rachel?
I normally work in dollars per megawatt hour, and then this conversation
Yeah,
tried
yeah,
to change
okay.
it
How
to
does,
cents, and I
how
messed
does
it up.
the
Sorry.
long-term trend of increasing electricity prices, how to explain that when we're seeing levelized cost of electricity from renewable energy undercutting traditional production? How do like those two trends seem to be at odds?
That kind of is. You're right. So if we suddenly put tons of renewables on the grid and the long-term price doesn't increase, the profit potential of these projects is kind of hinges on low operations and maintenance costs. And so just long-term energy generation for a price. That's why some of these projects have agreed to these low prices, $38 a megawatt hour, for example. And that's the strike price. No matter what happens, if the pool price goes higher, they're still only going to get paid that much. So the idea is affordable long-term power is renewable, and you need to build them efficiently and be able to just take that margin long-term on them. And it should kind of level out. Now, if demand increases because population increases or something like that, that will still have an upward pressure on prices. So, accountants and lawyers will continue to find the best possible margin for the developers and the investors, and that'll always be the case, I think.
So basically, we're saying that long term we're going to see retail prices go up, but actual wholesale prices going down because there's more renewables against the power is cheaper.
I think long term, if you want my crystal ball prediction, you're going to see lots of distributed community, municipal, and individual based power generation.
Right.
And that's because we can. Because technology allows us to do that, and it's just better. It's like that Tesla out there. It's better than my Dodge Caliber, clearly. So it's going to be the long-term trend is lets us make our own power because it's totally doable and the storage works. And so then you'll crunch your own numbers. What's my price of power and what's my return on investing in this infrastructure for my community?
But isn't that going to put pressure on wholesale prices if we're producing ourselves, so we're not taking off the grid? So that should drive the prices lower.
It's a massive disruption for the whole model.
Yeah.
It is. It's huge. And what's going to happen for the people that are still on the grid, it's going to become insanely expensive for them because they're going to have to cover all of the transmission costs that people who've gone off of the grid are no longer paying for.
Massive creaky old infrastructure just chugging along.
The loss on transmission is also pretty massive too. All that generation, what is it, half of it being lost on transmission?
Yeah, evaporating off the lines.
You gotta get 100 miles an hour. It's a huge waste.
Yeah, so it's anyone's guess really exactly how it's going to wash out. But well, you've seen this. Interesting thing about Saskatchewan, they're only doing solar in 10 megawatt increments, and their whole ambition is 60 megawatts of solar, which is laughable in the utility scale solar. The one good thing about it that they are doing is each of these projects has to be tied to a community partnership of some kind. So whether it's a First Nation or a municipality, that's how they're selecting these 10 megawatt projects, which, hey, that's not a bad thing, right? I think they're just trying to prove out the model.
All right. Sorry.
Yeah.
When we're looking at those particular project and whatnot, has there ever been a policy change that could actually embrace, for example, if we look at this entire group here in this building that resides all over Calgary, and if we were to shake hands and said, all right, let's go and buy a quarter section, and we're going to be putting a bunch of solar panels on it, and whatever, or individual bills, we're going to become cooperative micro generation. So we fall on a totally different purchase agreement.
Yeah.
And the next thing that happened is, since we're buying electricity, we would be able to sell it as well. But if it was installed on a particular field, the cost of installation is a fraction compared to putting it on the roof.
Right.
Sorry.
That's okay. No.
So having said this, it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, and people are trying it. And the community generation legislation that came in, the Small
Yes.
Scale Generation Act, that was all meant to help enable that. That's gone away. But it doesn't mean that the opportunity's gone away. It's still possible to do it because it's a deregulated market. You team up with a retailer like Ace or somebody, and you make an arrangement to build and sell this power and have it credited on your bill. You know, there's ways of doing it.
So you're saying it's possible to do community, I guess that would be virtual net metering effectively.
Basically, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so, because I had always thought that wasn't possible, so it's possible if you partner with a retailer, essentially.
Yeah, and if you're in the city of Lethbridge, for example, that owns their own lines, but they're not allowed to generate, then you've got to make a deal with them to allow those electrons on the grid. Everything's negotiable.
Yeah, every
Right.
utility is different too.
And here in Alberta, really, because it's Wild West, and so it's like, yeah, you just got to pick up the phone and start taking people out for lunch, and you know, basically find a way to make it win-win, both sides. As long as you can find a way to make it win-win, you can probably figure out a way to do it. Just make sure that your quarter section that you buy actually has decent access to the grid, because if you have to pay for line upgrades,
Yeah.
the more upgrades you have to pay for, the less it makes sense to do it, and then you may as well put it on your roof.
Yeah.
Traverse Solar Project got a ton of press recently from Green Gate Power. Too bad we don't see any of the Balbins here, but maybe next time.
That's huge.
400 megawatts. It's massive, and it's going ahead. They say they are now oversubscribed apparently with private PPAs for that electricity. So I think I'm feeling that the oil and gas sector said, let's go in with this big 400 megawatt project and really make a splash with Alberta on the map for solar.
And the PPA rate's not disclosed, right?
No.
We don't know. Could be 5 or 6 cents, we don't know.
Yeah, it's probably comparable to what TC Canada paid for that Claresholm project.
Excuse me. What's the name of website that you we can track the cost of solar medicine?
Oh, medicineline.net.
Medicine line.
Yeah, but I mean, that's one place. ASO.ca, of course, is another resource.
You can also track futures pricing on NGX. So you can basically see forward contracts what people are buying at what price from say now till 5 years from now.
Okay. You're obviously familiar with this too, yeah. NGX.
Yeah.
That's an exchange for, and what's the website?
Wholesale OTC exchange.
Yeah, no, I will.
Okay.
Actually, I just
Google
Google
it.
it.
Google NGX. Yeah, we really want to get into the weeds with this end of it, but it's kind of interesting. So, on the other